We
Okay,
ready?
share. Yes.
I passed the NNA exam for loan signing.
Well, congratulations to you on
Thank you,
that.
thank you, thank you. I had to
Oh
share it
my
because I was just
goodness.
like bursting with like,
Yeah, that can be a very challenging exam for a lot of you. So, yes, that's a big deal. So, I'm glad that you were able to get through
Congratulations. Good for
thank you,
you.
thank you, thank you.
May
All right, is
the more skills you learn and the more educated you become in this field, you have a great opportunity to be successful.
Thank you
I
so much.
agree.
I appreciate
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get started with our topic of discussion. Let me go ahead and share my screen and get it going. If someone is willing to be a moderator for the Q&A portion of our chat, so you have the chat for everyone when it comes to you sharing what city you're in and county. And then you have the Q&A portion. So any questions or answers you can put in the Q&A so it won't be a lot of trying to filter through our conversations in the chat for everyone. And this is very helpful when we go to the audience when we do go through the discussion of the topic for tonight. So let me go ahead and share the screen with you all. All right, so we're going to go over powers of attorney. Stop risking your notary commission. So let's talk about it. So when it comes to this, again, it's a very, very important top of documentation, and it's all about us as a notary, as a gatekeeper in this capacity. So handling power of attorney documents, verification, and vigilance. So a power of attorney documents are highly sensitive legal instruments. Your role is not just to witness a signature, but to act as a vigilant gatekeeper against fraud and coercion. So, one, what is a power of attorney? A power of attorney grants a person, which is the agent, authority to act on behalf of another, which is the principal. This authority can be sweeping or limited depending on the document and all the content that it includes. Two, what are the types in North Carolina? So notaries commonly encounter the statutory short form power of attorney and the healthcare power of attorney. This is just a few, okay, because there's quite a lot of them. And then when it comes to some of the document scrutiny, even in loan packages, you may see a limited power of attorney that authorizes an agent to correct minor clerical or typographical errors, but not core financial terms like the interest rate or principal amount cannot be changed. Okay. Then when it comes to the verification protocol, identity, appearance, and capacity. Verification involves meticulously checking the signer, the witnesses, and the documents to ensure legal compliance. So, check A, identity and personal appearance. That is a must, okay? When it comes to the signer appearing before you personally, you must verify identity with a valid, unexpired government issued ID or federal ID that matches the name on the document. So, these are red flags. Never notarize a power of attorney if a family member tells you just go ahead and notarize it. They signed it earlier today, as this violates the personal appearance rule. And unfortunately, notaries are guilty of going through the process with the person not physically appearing before them just because of a sad story that someone is telling them to convince them otherwise. Never allow that to stop you from doing exactly what the statutes govern us to do when it comes to following the law, because any violations, we are subjected to actually holding up the law, and that can cause us to actually have our commission revoked or suspended, and other things that can be problematic for us if we do not follow exactly what the law tells us to do. B, the capacity, the pulse check. You must confirm the signer's awareness and willingness to sign. This is more than, again, us just looking at them in front of us and matching their ID photo with who is in front of us to go forward with signing our name and notarizing the document. Okay, we do have to ask certain questions and just again be very observant of the state of mind that appears the person is coming to us with when we are having a conversation. Okay, so it's going to be very important for you not to feel like you got to rush through anything because you will oftentimes miss a lot if you are not in the state of mind of taking your time and paying attention to everything when it comes to the person and what's in their surroundings. Okay. Ask an open ended question to confirm their intent, such as, can you tell me in your own words what this document is for? Okay. That's again an open ended question. An extreme red flag would be if the signer is confused, hesitant, or in and out of consciousness. You must stop the notarization and refuse to affix your seal. It is better to refuse a seal than to participate in a fraudulent act. So, again, if we can observe and we are very aware that something seems off, that is the red flag that you need to pay attention to and not move forward. Then you have C, your witnesses. For documents like the healthcare power of attorney, ensure that the document requirements are met, which often includes having two disinterested witnesses present along with the principal signer and proper ID. We covered last week about the different witnesses. So if you're wanting to get more clarity and go back to last week's TNT, that can be very helpful. A qualified witness is an additional layer of authenticity who confirms the signer's identity and watches them sign willingly and under no duress. Then when it comes to vigilance, conflicts and document integrity. Vigilance means avoiding prohibited situations, ensuring the document is completed before you act. Rule 8, or Rule A as an alpha, avoid conflicts of interest. So North Carolina law prohibits notarizing a document where you are named as a healthcare agent, a beneficiary, or a witness. Best practice is do not notarize for spouses, parents, or children, as this creates the appearance of bias or a financial interest, making the notarization vulnerable to legal challenge, being tossed out in court if ever there's a question or debate. No dual representation. Keep your family life and your notary life separate. Again, this is best practice. There are documents that we can definitely notarize for family, friends, um, when it comes to it not benefiting us in any way. But you have to really understand what the document content summarizes so that way you can make sure it won't be a situation of someone saying that there's a problem with the notarization if you are related to the party that is the principal signer of the document. And then rule B, document completeness. The document must be complete with no blank spaces before you notarize, unless it is a specific non-exception, like a survey affidavit, for example. And there's quite a few different examples that you can identify, you can move forward without having a situation where it's a blank that may need something to be entered in there. Okay, some are very obvious and it cannot be done because it has to be recorded after the fact, or it is a optional choice for something to be selected. Okay, our conclusion and hopefully your takeaway, your best defense against liability is your professional process. So if you have questions about the document or the signer's capacity, trust your gut and stop the notarization. When it comes to protection, document every detail of the transaction, including how you verified ID and capacity in your notary journal, which acts as your security camera in court. So again, you recording everything that took place is your best defense if ever you have to go to court and also testify with what all occurred. Us trying to memorize everything that happened is not always easy. Okay. And again, you're talking about maybe a 10-year time frame. So again, recording every single transaction is going to be very helpful to you in the public when it comes to what all occurred in your own words based on exactly what's recorded in your journal. That is the reason why it's very important and considered your best practice when it comes to why it's beneficial to record information. All right. And as I say all times, always be learning. Coming to our TNTs can help you with being able to identify new information as well as being able to share with other fellow notaries some experiences that you may have encountered that can help them along their journey as well. So, again, our goal is to always have a place that you can actually safely come, communicate, learn, and just really be able to share exactly different things that you have gone through as well as learning from others. So I appreciate you guys being here. And now we're going to take it to all of you. If there's any questions, comments, or just you've been able to share, this is the time to do that. Do we have any questions or observations? Okay, so we're going to go with Dave and then Vicky.
Hi, this is an observation. There's a couple of other documents that someone is pretty likely to show up in front of the notary if they're doing a statutory form healthcare power of attorney. And the one that's most likely is an advance directive, which has a separate statutory form with many of the same signature, witness, and notary requirements. And the other one that they might have, which isn't a state form, it's a federal form that's very important, is a HIPAA release or patient authorization, which gives their agent authority to request and see their medical records. And it's not in the healthcare power of attorney or the advance directive unless you are in a state like South Carolina where they've made it part of their statutory form.
All right, thank you for that, Dave. And some of you may not have come across any of those yet, but again, the more you're actually active in your community, you're bound to come across them. So again, this can be very helpful for what you need to really pay attention and identify. But understanding what our role is as a notary at all times is going to be most important so that you can actually make sure you're doing your due diligence in your capacity as a notary. Never give advice because again that would be an authorized practice of law. We have covered that throughout our time to actually go over a lot of different topics, but again that is something that is really really important because depending on your career path and the things that you are doing currently in your job or your career over time, you may feel compelled to share information with a customer on a document that is being notarized, but you have to remember your position at that point in time when you are, again, about to notarize a document. You're limited to advising and sharing your opinion because that is an authorized practice of law that is against the law as a notary. So please do make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position that you are breaking the law that very easily, okay? Because again, many times we want to be very helpful, but we can also be harmful when we are doing something that is again unlawful. And Miss Vicky.
This kind of goes along with what you said earlier and what Dave said. You said about not having blanks on your forms. Unfortunately, the short form power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney, and the advance directive all have check boxes or say initial here if you do or do not want somebody to be active. So on those three forms, it is unfortunately very common to have sections not filled in on purpose. And it's almost impossible to tell if they, or you probably shouldn't try to get in the middle of saying, do you really want to fill this out or not, unless you know you have a section that says you must check either this one or the first one or the second one because it's a yes or a no very conscious. So those 3 forms are, unfortunately, they break the rules of not having stuff, of leaving blanks on a document.
And what I would do, thank you for sharing that, Ms. Vicky. What I would encourage others that come across that type of form, write in your notary journal what you have identified. That can be very helpful if something happens later in your call to court. We cannot, again, control anything beyond what we have the ability to do. We have to remember that. If you feel there's a situation where the principal is again possibly being forced or feeling as if though they have to do something, that is something that you should also document. Unless you say, no, I'm not moving forward with this notarization because I feel there's a compromise. So you can actually, again, based on what you honestly feel, you have the authority to either not go forward with it or go forward with it. You do have that option. We're never obligated to notarize anything. So always remember that as well. Sunita.
So in reference to, I know we were talking about the power of attorney forms, but in reference to any other forms in addition to this, now, if there are some forms that do have a blank line, say, for example, there were 2 lines where you could fit 2 individuals' names. Now, if we don't need those extra lines, of course, we're not to have any blank lines. Is it okay to draw a line or do NA? What should you put in those extra blank lines?
Now, if you're asking as far as our notary certificate, we as the
Yes.
notary can always put in a blank line, which we should, because
Mhm.
that is the only area on a document that we have authority to add or take away to make it correct when it comes to everything that needs to be in the notary certificate and the language. So yes, if there are additional lines after you have the person who appeared before you, that is written down, and then there's additional spacing just in case there are multiple people, we can put nothing follows in A. So we can definitely make sure that we have something written there so it's no question about if anything else should go into those spaces.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, if there is some obvious blanks that needs to be completed on these documents where it's not your notary certificate, what we can actually share with the principal signer is that something has to be written there in order for us to move forward because we cannot notarize if it's blank. They will commonly ask, so what do I put there? Because I'm not sure. We will have to respond, you would need to consult with an attorney or someone else that has given you the document to help you with that information, but I cannot legally share that with you because I'm not an attorney. So again, to just help them understand what you can and cannot do, because we're trying to keep them not being as confused or upset with us because they feel that we're supposed to know these things, because they don't know what they don't know. So we have to educate them on what our roles are as a notary public versus a licensed attorney. So all of those things are very helpful when you are able to put yourself in a position of expressing how to stand firm on what you can and cannot do as a notary public in this capacity. Yes, Dave.
When you were talking about witnesses for a healthcare power of attorney, you mentioned the term qualified witness. And I just wanted to add that for healthcare power of attorney and for advance directive, qualified witness has a very specific meaning that's defined in the statute, and it's reflected in the witness statement in both of the statutory documents. And it seems to me it's very important when you're doing a signing for one of those documents that the witnesses have read that, or you read it to them, and the witnesses are then, they know what they're confirming, that they have qualifications to be a qualified witness, because there's a lot of stuff in there and some of it is beyond what we usually think of for someone being a witness to signing a document.
And that is very true. So yes, again, reading is essential for both parties. And I would encourage you to just go onto the Secretary of State website, download those actual forms. You can find in the, I think it's directive, what is it? The Miss Vicky, I know you can tell me because I cannot even think right now, but it's on the website. When it comes to advanced directives,
Advanced health. Yeah, advanced health documents.
thank you. So there is a category for advanced help documents on the Secretary of State website. Under the visions, you'll be able to see our notary space and then other things that they have under the Secretary of State that's accessible to everybody. And this again is in our general statute, so it can help you just take some time just to look over to get familiar with the language and information as far as who must be present, who you can not be as a witness. All of those things are clearly defined in the documents, as Dave have mentioned. During my 2-day Notary Basics Accelerated class, that is something that we go over in depth. You actually have copies of all of these documents, and we go over the role playing so you can actually understand what your position is when you're actually swearing or affirming someone, when you're administering the oath or affirmation to them, when it comes to exactly the importance of what a qualified witness is versus just a disinterested party. So, again, all of those things are very important. The reason why they specify what type of witness it is. So, to Dave's point, it gives a lot more details. Like, you cannot be a person that is a staff member, a doctor, employee of a facility that a patient is actually in. That's using these documents to be notarized. So they cannot be a witness in this capacity because it's a conflict of interest. So all of those things are very, very important when it comes to the person that's under oath to not perjure themselves if they are actually in that category. I have been guilty of notarizing documents decades ago when I just had no idea. But this is the thing, the staff supposed to have known this because in the medical field, they should actually have this information to actually understand what they cannot do when it comes to notarizing for a patient. And because the doctors that was actually asked to actually assist in this matter, they should have pulled back and say, well, we can't do that because we work for the hospital or we're right directly caring for this patient. And so, in a situation that you may find yourself in, who can be a witness when there's no one around in the room outside of employees of the actual facility that could be close by? Well, you can pull someone possibly that is visiting another patient that is within the facility that is a qualified disinterested party, meaning they're over the age of 18, and you'll be able to see that on their ID. And just them actually being able to say that they're not affiliated with the clinic or facility at all. So all of those things are very relevant and very important when it comes to trying to help someone really get some of their documents taken care of, because a lot of times they're in limited positions of just calling different people because of the state that they're in for the reason why they're in the facility, right? So the goal is for us to educate ourselves as much as possible so we can actually use this information as marketing as well. We can put information on our Google business profile pages for our posts, our Facebook business pages, and other social media platforms, sharing with the public in a situation like this. Give them an example of what we just covered, what they can do, and what cannot happen that can jeopardize the entire document if the wrong people are actually in the wrong position. Okay, so us being able to educate the customers completely can actually help them when they come across our material, as well as looking for a notary to see exactly how they can actually get assistance for their loved one or for themselves. But again, we're here to advocate and educate our community of, again, what we can and cannot do. Freedom of speech still lives. So in your blog, as an example, that is a website where it's just you sharing information, your opinions on things, factual content. However, you need to always leave with a disclaimer of who you are not if you're not a licensed attorney. So they can't say, well, I went to Belinda's website and she said that we can do this, this, and this. But the goal is for them to understand I am speaking freely and I'm giving information based on what I can point to where I gather the information from, because I always like to cite where the information is coming from. And if it's my opinion, I will share in my opinion, and then I will share my opinion. However, again, some people like to take what you say as if it is the truth and facts, but it's not always so. So, again, it's very important for you to actually be very transparent with the information that you share, so it will hopefully be received and researched so people can actually do their due diligence when they come with a decision of how they're going to move forward. All right. Any other comments, questions? And if you have a question that's not about powers of attorney, this is a place that you can ask those notary questions as well. So it doesn't have to be based on the topic of discussion for tonight.
I have a question.
All right, let me see whose hand is raised.
Oh,
All
oh, sorry. Wait. Okay.
right, so before I get to you, Michelle, Dave, Vicky, Michelle. So Dave, did you have another comment or question?
Yes, this relates to an old post I happened across in the Secretary of State Facebook group. And the comments were closed, so I couldn't ask the person how it got resolved. The notary was either a doctor or a retired doctor. He was an eye doctor. And he went to a nursing home to notarize a document for one of the residents of the nursing home. And the resident didn't have ID. And his question was, I've known the administrator of the nursing home for many years. He didn't explain in what capacity. And the administrator of the nursing home knows the resident because the resident's been there quite a while. He also said the resident was totally mentally competent. She was only in the nursing home for some physical reasons. And he asked whether the administrator could serve as a credible witness for identifying the person who was going to be the principal signing the document in front of the notary. And my thought about it was, if it was a healthcare power of attorney or an advance directive or a financial power of attorney, absolutely not. But maybe, but I don't know how much of a stretch it was, if it was some type of really innocuous document that couldn't possibly be considered in any way to have anything to do with the nursing home, then maybe they could do it. Like, for example, if I don't know, she was writing a little bit note authorizing someone to change her address at the post office, because I've read recently the post office's instruction for that, and they say you can do it with a notarized letter. But it struck me as like it was an expeditious solution to the problem at hand, but it wasn't a great solution. And for certain documents, the answer should be definitely no, because the administrator couldn't be a witness to the document, and I don't think they should be a credible witness then for identifying the principal.
I agree with that. And again, that would be something I will also still get the opinion from an attorney in that situation, just because of the details of what a credible witness is versus them being an actual witness in the capacity of what a witness does. Because a credible witness is used as a substitute to an actual identification. Which is why we can't charge them, because we can't charge an ID for exactly what it's used. So again, that is something that I would love for hopefully an attorney to be able to answer. How would that actually work? Otherwise, they would just have to hopefully get an identification or ID to actually make sure they are able to get notarizations for any documents that they're needing assistance with. Um, for those of you that may not be aware, I feel that this is something I probably need to share on every meeting, is that when you know of facilities with a lot of, I would say, seniors that are at a certain age and they're no longer driving, they're not thinking about an expired ID for many reasons, so they're not driving anymore. However, it's very, very important for them to have a unexpired ID for notarization purposes. If they're not able to go to a DMV office, and most times they're not, there is a homebound program. You can go onto Google, put in the word homebound program, and it's through the Department of Motor Vehicles. It is a document that's going to actually upload when you click on that link, and that is the document that must be filled out for that particular principal. Okay, so that the DMV knows that they need to set up an appointment to come out to the facility to do their due diligence of getting them an actual state ID. So they will have a valid ID for any affairs like notarizations that need to occur. A lot of this information is only going to come from us, because that's not something that is actually openly shared through the DMV website. But you have to put in that keyword and it will come up. So this is something that we can advocate and help educate the different facilities that persons that will fit that criteria can actually benefit from, just because a lot of people are again unaware that this is an option. And it's really sad when it comes to the information that's out there that a lot of people are not aware of that they can benefit from. So if we just again take the time to talk to companies and families of those that are seniors, this can again help change how that outcome is for them when the need is there. Okay. Thank you for that, Dave. And Michelle, you next.
Okay, so I had a situation before I was a notary um, at my job, and I noticed that sometimes when we get like power of attorney forms, um, it was like the notary did not put a date on it. They signed it, but everything was taken care of except for the date. So
Mm,
I would return it back to them and said, "Hey, I can't use this." And I think I don't know exactly what happened, because I was told I need corrected power of attorney forms. I don't know if they, contact the customer and said, "Hey, these dates are not correct, or there's no date on here." I don't know if they go in there and put the date on there or not, but I did let them know that I can't use the power of attorney forms when there's a date missing. So you need to make sure
mhm.
before you give this to me that a date is on there. So I was wondering, I mean, if they call the I guess the customer and they put the date on there, that's incorrect, correct? Or would they have to do new power of attorney forms?
Everything should happen at a time where a person signs their name. The
Okay,
date should
that's what I
actually
thought.
be right there at the same time of execution, because that can open up a whole lot of fraudulent opportunities.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. And I after I took the notary class, I thought about that, and I said I will always wanted to ask that question, because I'm thinking, no, that's not right. I can't use these. You're gonna have to send these back. And
Hmm.
it ended up holding up loan closings. And I thought, well, you need to make sure it's right before fund the money. Then we have to overnight power of attorney forms back to them, have them re-sign it, bring it back, and there was a lot of issues with that. But I let them know that, and like I said, I wasn't sure because I didn't take the class, but I told them that
Okay.
I don't think you can just put it in there.
That again, when you're dealing with a document that's going to be notarized, the notary must put in the date that they notarized the document. before they notarize the document, they should make sure the date has actually been written by the person who is signing, if there is an obvious space for a date to be actually written. There are certain documents that come across us that there's not a date for the actual signer. However, when it comes to what we recorded in our journal, we will put today's date if there's not a date showing anywhere else in that document.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Ms. Vicky and then Sunita.
Two things. I have seen lots of questions popping up on the Facebook post saying, if we're in an office, can we share a manual? And I have seen a post from someone, I'm hoping it was actually Ozzy, that said, definitely not, you must have your own. So I'm hoping it was actually Ozzy that was answering and not some fake. No, you cannot share them. I know you cannot photocopy them. So that's more of an FYI. Each person must own their own. You have your own seal, you have your own manual, basically, is what it comes down to.
Correct. And it's in the statutes
And
as well. Ozzy did actually post that information.
I was hoping that was actually him, but I wasn't sure.
It was.
Get fake posted. And I have
No.
Google business profile for the win. For anyone that knows geography for Durham, I live in South Durham, and I had someone contact me on Sunday on the exact opposite side of town. And I'm sitting here saying, okay, I don't mind doing your car title, but how did you get hold of me when I'm not even close to you? Because my profile does show I'm a South Durham person. And he said, because your business hours show that you were open on the weekend. And they were willing to have me drive 30 minutes across town to do their car title on a weekend because I showed that I was open. Because I was sitting there
And
saying,
that's important.
why aren't you getting someone closer? And the answer is there probably wasn't anyone else closer that was open. So
or they didn't answer their phone.
I've had at least 2 calls that were very surprising from where they were calling from, saying, if you put mobile notary near me, I wouldn't normally show up. But if most of them don't have open hours, yeah, I'm a mobile notary in Durham. And yes, I guess I am near you at that point. So just as an FYI, your hours, especially on nights and weekends, if you're willing to be available, can get you some substantial travel fees, shall we say.
Yes. Thank you for that, Ms. Vicky. And yes, when it comes to your Google business profile, it gives you an option to post your hours of availability. And many times when it comes to calls that you as a notary may receive, it's one of 2 reasons. It's because you're at the top of the list based on all of the activities that your Google business profile traffic is bringing, and you're actually being one that's really easy to see when someone's doing a search, or you're positioning yourself with the information that you should have to help your visibility for when someone is searching notary near me. A lot of times the calls I am receiving is because other notaries have yet to answer their phone when someone has called. And this is the thing, a lot of people are not leaving messages. So I know I'm not always on my phone or available to answer. So I do ask for those that call to leave a message, and I will respond once I get an opportunity. And so if I see that I have missed a call, I will oftentimes send a text message to let them know, if you're reaching out to me because you need a notary, if you still need a notary, please let me know. And that way they can now correspond to the text or call me back so that, again, I can still be of service. However, as again, you probably have experienced, and you may be guilty of this yourself. You call someone, they don't answer. Instead of leaving a message, you just hang up. If you're going to call me, leave a message, please, because I want to know exactly how I can assist you when I hear your message, so I know how urgent it may be when it comes to me calling you back, to know specifically why I'm calling you back. And that is something I feel that everyone should start getting back in the habit of doing, because that's the whole point of having a voicemail. Some people voicemail systems are not set up because they don't want to have messages. But again, that is their reasons for, I guess, having a phone. I don't know. But again, that is something that I would actually encourage you all to do, is leave messages or text a person, because again, if they're just going through a list, they're not usually programming your business name or name in their phone. but you can say that you're returning, a missed call. And if they still need a notary, please let you know. Sunita and then Andrea.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yes, and there's plenty too that'll make a phone call to you. If you're unavailable, then I'll text back, and then of course they don't respond. So, but anyway, the question I have is, I remember some years ago back home in Virginia, I was helping my mother look for an apartment, and I remember there was one prospect. She was in there talking to the resident manager. And they have, like, if you don't make a certain amount for the income, where someone else can write a letter that assists you far as paying your rent. Say, for example, um, my mother may give me $300 a month. So the resident manager is saying that if you have someone that does that, all they need to do is write a letter and have it notarized, and they can accept that as additional income. So my question is, now that was back home in Virginia some years ago, that just popped into my mind. That is not allowed here. Am I correct? So, and she basically said that she can just have a piece of paper, and she can just basically have her mother say that I, so and so, provide my daughter certain amount of money, each month. And then she had it signed and notarized. That's not, I guess that works there, but that was before I became a notary back home in Virginia. But I just remember that that's not allowed here. That's not a valid a document, would it be?
Anyone can write anything and have it notarized in most cases.
Right.
It all depends on what it's for, depending on how the verbiage is.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may decline it, and then other agencies may accept it. So it is case by case. That is
Mm-hmm.
something that, again, most people, because we're in an attorney state, would say
Mm-hmm.
you need to get legal counsel to make sure you have the proper paperwork for
Mm-hmm.
when you're wanting to give someone authority to do things, or almost like a lease agreement where someone is saying, yes, I'm accepting this amount for them to stay here. Again, it's a pretty much a mutual agreed upon document from both parties signing, saying that this is what they agreed with. So there's nothing that can be disputed when someone actually wants to have it in writing.
Mm-hmm. Because what she was going to do, the resident manager, that was another document that they would use to justify that this, lady makes X amount of money to qualify for the apartment. So,
So
okay.
again, it depends on what the
Mm-hmm.
agency or the company in this case requires. They may want
Mm-hmm.
to look at bank statements to see about deposits. So again,
Right.
it all depends on the third party of what they require of another when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
their own rules and regulations.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And then I have Andrea and then Stacy.
Good evening, Miss Belinda. Good evening, everyone.
Good
My
evening.
question is regarding the phone number for the business. So which is the best? Should you get a regular phone, or is Google number, you know, a good one to use?
Sufficient.
Yeah, sometimes I hear some people say, don't use Google. So,
So this is what I will encourage. Get what you can afford. As a notary public, again, we're a public official and we're not making a lot of money. If we are
right.
here to help the public, we should not be incurring fees that is going to be, again, something that is definitely a financial problem for us to actually keep up with. I have Google numbers. I have had a Google number for over 20 years, just because it works. And you can actually have it listed so that when someone actually receives a call from the Google number, your business will appear on their caller ID. So there's ways that you can have it set up so that it can actually register as a business.
Mm-hmm.
You have Google Workspace for that. Google Workspace is not free.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay an affordable rate for a monthly payment, and you can actually have a business Google Voice number that way as well. So it's just similar to having a Gmail account for email. You can also have a business domain for your email address also. But again, remember who you are and where you're at when you're with your affordability. If we're an essential worker trying to help the public, we should not be going through a financial deficit to do so. So this is one of the things I do encourage is do not feel like you have to go out paying all of these subscriptions and things of that nature where you have not benefited from this. And the goal is for you to be a benefit to others and not put yourself in a situation where you're going to cause yourself a hardship. Okay, you can definitely set yourself up with a lot of the Google applications to look really wonderful as a professional in this space without, again, um, really putting yourself in a financial strain. So I would never encourage someone to go out and get a second number that you're paying for just so that you can actually help other people. That to me is not exactly how being a notary should be when you're actually trying to be of service.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Y- You're very welcome. And then I have Stacy and then Tina.
I have a question about a training that I just saw on your North Carolina training regarding the fingerprinting and apostille facilitated class. Will those classes also be videoed? Because I'm in Rocky Mountain. I know you're based in Charlotte. So will I have to
Mhm.
come to Charlotte to come to the class?
Those are that is a specialty class, so yes, it is in person only. So when it comes to the method and then the logic I use for the reason why fingerprinting should be done in person, using a video is great to actually have an idea of how to do things. But if you do not have the actual hands-on training of how to really finger roll somebody else's prints, then the video itself is not helpful because you need to have the hands-on training to see if you're doing this properly. To know for a fact, it's almost like exercising. You can look at videos to do certain exercises. However, sometimes it's better to do things in person with someone that can tell you the posture you need to have and how you need to be actually positioned so you won't harm yourself because again some things look easier than what it is to do it. So yes, it's in person and because it's a specialty training, that means the person should again if they really want to have that training then make it possible to come to it. Unlike with the notary basics, I feel that every notary should have access to receiving how to notarize these different documents because that is part of our job. Fingerprinting isn't, but that can be an additional stream of income. But what's part of our job and what you deserve to know as a notary, then I have it on video as an option for notaries that are in your area or 5 hours away from Charlotte that can now have access to the information and be able to apply it. So, yes, it is in person only in Charlotte this year.
Okay, I think I can make it. My youngest is graduating UNC Charlotte next month. She's living down there, and then I got a best friend. So I will try to make it to one of your sessions.
All right, so you can make it a business pleasure trip, okay? And it's a business
Exactly.
expense as well.
Especially on September 19th, because that's my birthday.
Oh, okay. All right. I try to keep that in mind.
All right.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome. And Andrea,
Oh,
oh, your hand's still raised. And Tina, go ahead.
yep. I just wanted to comment openly to Sanita. I think that was her to ask the question about the notarization of somebody providing financial assistance. Um, I've done it both. Sometimes the agency has a form that they have to fill out, and they just say, like, for instance, you're living with your grandmother or something like that, and you give her $300 a month or whatever. It's just a statement saying that. And then, as far as handwritten letters, you can notarize a handwritten letter. It just has to have the proper notarial wording on it,
Mhm.
right? So it doesn't matter whether it's coming from an agency. If a person is calling you and saying, "Hey, I need this letter notarized," then again, the contents don't matter, right? It's just as
Mhm.
long as that notarial certificate is written clearly or whatever, then you can notarize it. Just to clear up any confusion, I've done it both ways where it was an agency requesting the letter. I think Wake County Housing, something like that, they have their own letter. And then it was for a couple of young ladies. Hey, if it's fraudulent, I don't know. I don't ask no questions. If they're saying they're getting $500 from the baby daddy, then that's what it is. They're notarizing the signature, right?
Mhm.
Producing you the right identification, da 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 da, and that's that. But I just wanted to, because she had a question, and I just wanted to make it clear that we can do handwritten letters, notarized handwritten letters.
Thank you for that, Tina. And that is something I also have as a hands-on training for you to actually see what one may look like, because it can be anything, even a will, when it comes to a person's last will and testament. But they still do have to have two witnesses when it comes to validating that this person willingly signed on their behalf when it comes to the will. So that's another conversation, but it's something that I just wanted to actually share can be handwritten as well. Stacy, you had a your hand up.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Tina just shared, if they don't have that the notarial certificate wording on that handwritten documentation, can you attach the notarial certificate with it
You can
as
ask
well?
them which one they choose.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
A- And with that being said, everyone should have in their toolkit a stapler with staples and a staple removal, because as a notary by law, if when a loose certificate is required, we always have to lead with which one do the principal signer want to choose from. So if you have your acknowledgments as well as your jurats, which is the oath or affirmation, you can have them choose from what you have access to. If you do not have the physical documents, we can handwrite the wording verbatim. We have it in our manual, so we can always go to it to write down exactly what choice they've made. We also need to make sure if it is an oath or affirmation, we do administer the oath or affirmation every single time before any signatures are signed. Okay, is that important? So again, in order for you to write it on the document, it needs to have enough space for it to be written. If there's not enough space, hopefully you do have those loose certificates with you that you can download at no charge from the Secretary of State website. They have so many different resources for us that we don't have to pay for these documents anywhere else. All we have to do is just find it, download them, print them out, and keep them on us every time we go out to notarize for someone. Okay. So you want to be truly armed and prepared for whatever may come your way.
Thank you for that. I've created a notebook that has indexes for those forms.
That's what I'm talking about. Prepared. Being proactive definitely wins. So there's two things. Next week we will have a special guest speaker. I will share more later on in the week of what you can prepare for. And then I have a contest for those of you that actually show up here and I see your face and you're interactive for the next 4 consecutive weeks. You have the opportunity to win a one-on-one mentoring session with me, which is 3 months that we meet once a month. We go over exactly what it is that you may feel stuck with or need some assistance in whatever area of your notary journey so that you can actually get the one-on-one with me. Again, this is a requirement of you being here for the next 4 consecutive weeks. You have been on camera and you have been interactive so that we can actually, again, have some camaraderie here. And this is my way of saying I appreciate those that show up, that get involved, and really are going to make a difference when it comes to the community, what they can actually benefit from your knowledge and your assistance. All right.
Fabulous prize.
And this is going to start next week. So again, I'm just giving you a heads up so that way next week when you come on, I can actually get to see a lot of my faces. So it is now. Yes, Miss Vicky, go ahead.
Do we have to leave the camera on the whole time? I hope not. I'm usually
I have okay, so if you're eating, you can say, I'll be back or something to that degree, but I do want to see you the majority of the time, just like you guys can see me. So just imagine how does it feel if I was not showing myself visibly and I'm just talking to y'all the whole time like this? Okay, it kind of feels like you're blinded and it's just impersonal at this point when I'm doing that. So that is something I refuse to do because you should be able to see the person who is talking, right? Because we're actually visual here, not on the phone. But yes, to your question, Ms. Vicky, it's all about the majority of the times that someone's on here because I know this is the time that you should be eating. You may have little ones coming through, and so that is something that is ideal. But this is recorded, so I can always go back to see the activity as well. So again, that helps. So again, we are at 7:31. This will be available for any of you that may have come in later and did not catch the beginning of what it is that we're covering on the subject matter of powers of attorney. But if you are looking at the replay on our actual YouTube channel. And please, everyone here, subscribe to the channel. I am trying to hit my 1,000 subscribers because this is free information. And I do take a lot of time to make sure I can create a great experience for those of you that are able to attend our TNTs. So please do, again, subscribe, like the videos, and share. Please do also make comments. Again, this is a area where you can actually share something that you may have learned or you may have a question, and I will actually answer it on the YouTube channel. This again helps with your support when it comes to other things that I am incorporating as we're building something bigger than what we currently see. Okay, so for those of you that also may not be aware of the North Carolina Notary Association, please do look into joining the association that is created specifically for North Carolina notaries. It's a huge opportunity and a big accomplishment for the founder from 1999 when it was founded to actually be in a position where you're getting the actual support to advocate, educate when it comes to notaries, as well as promote what it is that we're doing. Because of the NC, I should say, the reason why you are able to now have a $10 fee versus $5 and be able to charge for travel is because the NCNA advocated for all of us statewide to be able to increase our fees and add travel. This is something a lot of you are unaware of. The more you're involved, the more you can be a part of the solution when we see there's a problem that needs to be resolved. So it's that big of a deal when it comes to who is advocating for notaries when you are not even aware of what's happening in the background. So I am the president of the North Carolina Notary Association. This is my first term, and I will be running for the second term this year, which is 2 years when it comes to our terms. And it's been a blessing and an honor to be in this capacity to help you, fellow notaries, in the way that our organization can definitely make a difference. So again, thank you guys. We do have a conference coming up May 14th through the 16th. The conference day is actually on that Saturday. We have different training classes leading to the actual conference day on Saturday. So we have an annual conference every year. This is our 24th annual conference. So again, we're looking forward to those that are able to be in Raleigh to actually network and learn something new. Conferences are very helpful because you get to meet people that you would never normally meet during the year. So just being there to actually hear what needs to be said, you're going to learn something every single time you attend the conference because it's always new information to share from a different view lens. So again, this can be something that can help you, and it's also a business expense. So please do make sure everything that you're paying and investing in your notary growth, that you're actually now filing on your taxes, because it is a business expense for everything that you're doing with your notary commission. All right. So I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday Notary Tune-up. And if you have any questions, comments after we actually end tonight, you can always contact me through email, text message, messenger, phone call. All right. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week.